Okay, so here's another manifestation story, and this may be a little bit of a longer post. So back before I even understood law of attraction or had heard of it in my 20s, like many of you, I had been applying manifestation techniques unknowingly, using visualization or imagination or feeling or getting into that knowing state or living in the end. A lot of those techniques that many of us talk on here. So in a former life, I was a TV news journalist. I was a TV anchor. And when I was still going to school, I was a single mom at 21. And when I decided, okay, I'm going back to school and I want to be a journalist on TV, you don't know how many people told me to do something else. That it was a hard industry to get into, that I was never going to do it, that I was never going to make it. I just had a lot of people projecting their fears and their own limiting beliefs onto me. And I had this inner knowing that I was going to do it. I just knew. I knew like I knew like I knew. I'm sure you've gone through something similar, that you know something is going to happen to you, that it's going to work out. I had that knowing. I'm like, okay. So after a while, I just stopped telling people. When they asked me what I was studying, I kept it very limited in my details because I didn't need naysayers talking me out of my dream. Fast forward, eventually I become a TV news reporter and then a weekend anchor. And I stay in this career, but I leave the industry. I get married and I leave the industry. This is in my 30s. I leave the industry and go into PR, go back to grad school, and I move to another city. So I get out of the industry and do public relations and, like I said, grad school, and also to spend more time with my son. But I always had this dream in the back of my mind. Although I had done the TV thing and I was a weekend anchor, I really wanted to be a main anchor. I always had this dream and I just didn't tell anyone. I thought, oh, well, I guess I'm not going to do it anymore. And I accepted it, but I still had that dream, that feeling that I want to be a TV news anchor. And by this time in my 30s, I was starting to go through a separation and a divorce. I was living in Dallas and I thought, wow, wouldn't it be awesome if I could just get back into news, if I could, focus on my career again and make that a priority. And I just let it go and went on with my life. And as my son had left the house by this time, he graduated high school, he left. And it was me and my ex-husband living in the house. And out of the blue, I get this phone call. And it says, hey, and they say, hey, Patty, this company just bought this TV station in the city where I'm from and where I grew up, and we're looking for a main anchor. Your name keeps coming up. Would you be interested in coming back and reading for it? Out of the blue. And around this time, I was starting to get into law of attraction, but I wasn't applying it correctly. I thought that everything had to come through struggle and not with ease. So I went to read for it. Fast forward, I got the job. It was a great offer. Moved back to the city where I'm from and became the main anchor for a TV news station for years. And that's what I did for years until I met my husband now, and even worked through that. But I got this call out of nowhere. I aligned with it for this job because deep in my heart, I had this feeling that I wanted to do it, the desire of my heart. And I kind of surrendered it and said, okay, well, it would be cool if I could do this again. And I got this call and it happened. And then, like I said, at this time, I was getting into more law of attraction. Then I understood law of assumption and self-concept work. Here's what I learned in those lessons as far as career. Is that I thought everything had to come through struggle and, again, my linear thinking. I didn't know things could be easy and could come in the fastest time under grace. So one of the things that I've learned now with all the spiritual universal laws, for sure self-concept work is believing first and foremost that I'm worthy of receiving and having my desires, the desires of my heart. And then getting in that knowing state, living in the end, the wish fulfilled, that I know it's coming. Not letting people talk me out of things. In fact, being very intentional about who I share my dreams with, because people project their fears. And now I believe that all my desires and manifestations and dreams come to me with ease under grace in the quickest way possible, but with ease and under grace. It doesn't involve grinding hard work. It doesn't involve struggle for me. It doesn't involve pain. And it doesn't involve things that I just feel a discordance with, that I don't want to do. And so I've shifted that mindset, understanding law of attraction, putting ease and grace in the fastest way possible. And then I get into that knowing state and I know it's going to happen. That same certainty that I had back then, that I didn't know I was applying these techniques. And I live in the end. And I start first in my mind. I allow myself to have in my mind what it is that I desire. And I believe I am worthy and I live from that place. Who would I be if I was the person who already had her desire? That is the identity and the state that I step into.